Hey, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing selections for Friday, the 27th of December. Well, yesterday was a losing day, but there was a number of horses that ran well. Unfortunately, it got off to a bad start. We would have had a winning day if the last horse at 9-2 would have come in the first four, but it ran an absolute stinker. And I think then we would have had something like five okayish, well, decent placed horses in the each way Goliath, and then we would add 4 out of 4 placed in the free bet each way lucky 15. But it wasn't to be. But I've got some interesting selections that I really like the look of. Does it mean they'll come anywhere? No. So I like them all for each way. Well, it's an each way bet anyway. But I've had two bets. I've had my break the bank each way super high, and 7 pence each way, that comes to £16.80, where I've included all the horses in generally extra place races because I think they can sneak a place. There's some tasty prices, but I haven't taken the prices I haven't taken the price on most of them because who knows what could happen with the prices nowadays. And then I've had a each way lucky 15 where I've gone for the stronger fancies, and I do definitely like two of the Mark Loughnane horses, and I've backed one a few times recently, and it is handicapped to win. It's just whether it is given a decent ride, and that's not sour grapes, and that's not talking through my pocket, which it is to a degree, but it's not because it's a ridiculously well handicap horse that travels well, comes there to challenge, but is not always given the best of rides either. Sometimes comes too wide, sometimes given too much to do. So let's see what happens. I do think it needs a strong pace, but I will talk about that horse very shortly, and I shall tell you which one it is when I get to it. So, as I said, the first bet is a 7 pence each way Super Heinz, and the first selection is the Big Break in the 11.50 at Weatherby, paying 5 places instead of 4. I could have fancied a number of horses at big prices in this race, but I've gone for one that's a little bit on the shorter side, but it's still roughly about 8s or 10s. So, what I think will happen in this race is I do believe it's this horse as well. In fact, let me just double check. So, I wasn't going to do this, but you're just going to carry on seeing the same screen for the time being. Let me just. So it's 11.50 at Weatherby. So I'll show you very shortly. So this is the 11.50 at Weatherby. So there's two Sue Smith and Joel Parkinson horses. I do fancy the other one, which is the Big Break, but let me just show. I think Percolator's got a chance. I've looked at several others, including Star Vantage. Mersey Street is too big a price to say it's from the O'Neill stable. He hasn't got too many rated 84. Supreme Authority, I've backed it in the past. Will it step up? Will it improve for the step up in trip? I did fancy Bergentan. Jelski does have a chance. The problem is, though, it's James Moffat, and this isn't Cartmel. This horse has plummeted in the ratings. I think it was about 110, 115 not long ago. The problem is, all its best form is at Cartmel. If they decide they want to win on it, I believe they can win on it. But are they setting it up for a spring-summer campaign at Cartmel? So let me get on to the selection that I chose in the first place. So the Big Break. I just need to clarify something more than anything else. Yeah, it is this one. So I'm sharing this tab now. So as you can see, in my opinion, it's heading in the right direction. It likes a stiff test. It was running on point to points, running okay in bad ground. It started its hurdle campaign at Sedgefield. Didn't do a great deal, rated 65. Then it ran at Carlisle, sorry. Maybe there's substance for that. Cross between Cartmel and Carmel. So then it ran a better race, although you wouldn't believe it. It ran a racing post rating of 87. It then had a little bit of a break, and then it came back, ran a banger, race wide towards rear, lost touch. So, in my opinion, banger is too tight for it, and being wanting a trip and racing towards the bag didn't really suit it, in my opinion. So it was brought out a month later, and it ran at Cracker. So it was prominent throughout at Hexham. It then lost second place on the hill. So you can imagine it was probably me that backed it this day as well, because all my horses always lose their place turning for home, going up that steep hill at Hexham. But then it rallied, which a lot of them don't. Well, the good thing is, in my opinion, you haven't got the hill now. And I think this horse can lead. It's got Jack Power on front, which I've seen. Apparently, I'm guessing he's quite a decent jockey because I've looked at his last couple of rides. He's rode some okay races on bigger price horses. I think this horse could go straight to the front, and because that hill isn't there and Weatherby is an easy track, this horse could be difficult to pull back if it gets into a clear lead. Those might not even be the tactics, but the minimum, in my opinion, it needs to be prominent. And I think the Joel Parkinson and Sue Smith stable are gradually, and I mean gradually, slowly running into a little bit of form. The second selection is Double Click in the 12:30 at Chepstow, paying 4 places instead of 3. So basically, this horse, it seems to race prominently, get outpaced, then run on again. I think if the favourite sets a decent pace, which it did last time, there is something that could take it on. Hopefully, it's a good pace. This horse chases it, gets outpaced, runs on again, whereas a lot of others might falter when it comes to like rallying or going again. I think this horse, out and out stayer, I think it's got a £10 claimer on. No, it's got a £7 claimer on. Will Featherstone, not a bad jockey, but he has ridden it when he had a £10 claimer. That's what I got mixed up with when he was a £10 claimer. I think he's got a bit of a chance at a big price. The next selection is Fortuna Lena in the 120 at Kempton, paying 4 places instead of 3. This is the horse that I was talking about with a £10 claimer. I think it's got a chance because it's okay handicapped. It always seems to run relatively consistent or always to the same level. Will need to step up, but it's got a £10 claimer on, which hopefully he rode it last time, getting an half decent ride. Hopefully does the same again. And I think it's got a chance. The fourth selection is Your Own Story. I like the look of this one. It's in the 250 at Chepstow. It's a Welsh Grand National. You know what Lucinda Russell's like for liking winning nationals, or at least having competitive runners in nationals, and it's paying 6 instead of 4. I think it's about 14s or 16s. This horse stays further than this trip, and I think that's a bonus. Another bonus is this horse also races prominently, which I think you need to do at Chepstow in the Welsh Grand National. I think it's hard to come from behind, especially over such a marathon trip. Anything can happen during the race. So if you're behind going well, then you clat a few fences. You then still got to make the ground up with tired legs. I think racing prominently, which this horse does regular, it ran over 4 mile last time, so it ran a furlong and a half further than this particular trip. And I think it'll run well. And they are very well known, Lucinda Russell and Peter Scudamore, for aiming their horses at the Nationals. The next selection is very similar profile. It's Dice Arbor. I've left the price in the 6 minutes past 3 race at Kempton, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse ran a much better race when it was prominent throughout over a long trip again. Same format as Your Own Story. I believe it'll race prominently. And I do believe there are some better horses than this in this race. But I believe a lot of the other horses could be aimed or looking at different races rather than this one. I believe this horse is more likely to run its race, be up front, and I do believe, similar to the, what was it called? I can't remember what it's called now. I hate to put myself on the, what was it called? The Whacker, whatever it was called, the Whacker something that I backed in the King George. It was prominent throughout, ran on again. I think this will run the same kind of race because I think there's also an awful lot of question marks over a lot of the rest of the horses. The next selection is Apache Star. I've taken the price because I think it's too big a price in the 4 o'clock at Wolverhampton. This horse's handicap markers absolutely plummeted because it's been running on the turf where it could be a better horse on the all-weather. The Lochnanes are renowned more for the all-weather, and it's ran really well in the past, fresh, which it's going to have to do again. It's also one of the rare horses that I've seen that has been held up over 5 furlongs at Southwark and still ran a cracking race. So I think Apache Star, it's very dangerous off the handicap mark that it's off now. And my nap of the day it's Starfighter, 15-2 in the 7 o'clock at Wolverhampton, paying 4 places instead of 3. Ridiculously well handicap, running well consistently. Just needs to be given a better ride. It's got £7 off by that Mason Patel. Is riding well. And the other bet is based. Right, hold on. Yeah, there it is. So it's a 27 pence each way, lucky 15. And I'm going to leave you looking at it. So I've had these selections already. So I wish you the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.